first off, I have to ask you, I mean, being a veteran actor that you are, has directing always been something that, gotta do it, but just,
I've always been interested in producing.
Right.
Okay, but directing was something I was curious about, but I wasn't obsessed with the way most people that I know who talk about directing are. And so maybe it made the idea of collaborating when doing it
a little easier, maybe.
Yeah, something I was more interested in than, say, apprehensive of. And it's humbling.
Yes.
Directing is very humbling.
Well, you're wearing a lot of hats in this one too, right?
Yeah. That for sure. But even above and beyond it, like if I were only wearing that hat, say exclusively, I think the thing that you become painfully aware of when you're directing is that you understand what the goal is, and the goal is perfection, and that you're never going to achieve that goal.
Okay, but that's almost in anything, though, right?
Right. Yeah. Except you are the steward for everyone. It's like you're the parent, right? And then ultimately, the film is your child. So there's a different kind of ownership in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it any other way than that. There are films that I've acted in that I am so still possessive of, proud of, fiercely loyal to in ways that go even beyond rational experience, producing the same way.
Well, Temple Grandin, classic example.
Yeah.
So amazing.
Yeah.
So amazing. Yeah. I think I remember last time I spoke to you, I told you we PVR'd it. I mean, I watched it when it went live, but my parents PVR'd it.
Right.
My dad watched it. I think I want to tell you 10 times, and I'm not exaggerating. Like, there was something about it, and, maybe because we have autism in our family, and whatever it is, but...
Well, for sure.
Yeah, but it was brilliant.
Well, thank you. And, part of that, specifically, in connecting to this, is that, all right, that was an important issue-orientated film that was about creating awareness, inspiring people, getting as many eyes in as possible. This was, we wanted to have fun, and we wanted that to translate on film in a way that audiences would enjoy and have a chance to see.
Yeah.
And so very different modality, very different, and so in that sense too, at some point, as a director, I'd like to make a film like Temple Grandin, but I didn't want to try anything like that. First off, I wanted to have fun and kind of play with the movies that I always feel like are undervalued, which are, if you want to call them thrillers or B movies or whatever you want to call them, where they kind of are in the genre but sort of don't stay in the lines and play with that sense of, is it okay to laugh? Or is this really scary? Like, what's going on here? And also work with my friends.
Yes.
And have an opportunity to shine a light on them in different ways than they normally necessarily are portrayed or presented to the public.
Well, you got a great cast. I mean,
it was amazing.
So what do? You just pick up the phone to all your friends. It's like, okay, we're doing this movie and we need you.
Yeah.
That's basically probably how it goes.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, which is amazing. It's such a testament to all of them that they just jumped in, and they really jumped in. Like I can't say that there was anybody who I was, disappointed with or felt like, didn't quite understand the spirit of what was going on. Like, everybody got it, and they were fantastic. Great collaborators. I feel tighter with them now than I did before, and I loved them before, and just a great experience.
So when you guys were writing, though, did you have some of these friends in mind as you were writing? Like, totally. I want Greg to do this, Little Law. I mean, really?
Yeah.
Hello?
I know, right? Yeah. That was kind of, and who knows, that might be her last movie.
Well, hope not.
Yeah, but not because not because of her health. She's sharp. She's sharp as a tack and still so incredibly beautiful.
Gee, I wonder where Emma gets that from, huh?
Oh, I know, right? But Phil is unbelievable. But for her and Greg to work together, it's like and personally, that's my favorite piece in the whole movie.
Yeah.
I love that. I love her in it. I just love the whole thing about it. So, and that was literally, she said, okay, we flew to London. It was like 5 days before the Olympics.
Wow.
And we shot for, we shot for a day and a half. And then we left.
Amazing.
Yeah. It was incredible.
Amazing. Now, you co-wrote with Tony Pantages, who you guys go way back. You're old pals. Now, so is that really a benefit, or is it sometimes a hindrance when you're such close friends with someone and you've decided to take on a project like this?
Well, there are going to be moments where you're going to push each other in ways that aren't necessarily positive, right? Like you because like in a marriage or any long friendship, there are things about the other person that you understand, don't necessarily enjoy, and yet you I don't know if accept is the right word, but there's some level of compensating for anything that might be frustrating about it, to not have it overcome all the things that you love about that person. And so, there were moments where for sure he wanted to kill me, and for sure I wanted him dead. But for the most part, we laughed. And we saw many things, if not exactly the same, we saw them close enough that we could navigate them without any tensions.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's the way you want it to go. Shooting in Havana. I mean, how hard was that to go to Cuba? I mean, as a Canadian, obviously, makes it a little easier. Obviously,
a lot. I mean, it's a completely different story. That was one of the great revelations. We had a guy named Frank Vervorst, who's based in Havana, and he was our. He was our service producer, and so he facilitated all the necessary agreements with the government, and as soon as we got them, it was literally like we could do whatever we needed or wanted to do. There was no, we didn't feel any hovering eyes around us, we didn't feel any sense of authoritarianism. There was no impact to anything that we were doing other than gracious, hospitable, positive, welcoming.
That's great. It's a beautiful country. I mean, that city is spectacular. So how do you even know where you want to go? And
Okay, so we went there and we scouted for 3 days, right? And we landed, we put our bags, we dropped them off at the Hotel Nacional, and we just took off and went all over the city. And Tony and I had never been there before. We had just imagined what it would be like, and we're like, okay, this place and that. And Frank had read the script, and so we found most of our locations that time. And then 4 weeks later, we came back for another 3 days, and we locked down our locations. And between those two trips, we found all the restaurants we wanted to eat. There's incredible food there that nobody talks about, that's just mind-blowing. We met all the actors we wanted to work with. We found places that we wanted to hang out when we weren't running around, and saw some great music.
Amazing.
So it was like, okay, it's very clear we're not going to sleep through this entire experience.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah. No.
Yes, how much sleep was got on the shoot?
No.
None.
No.
Especially being in certain locations with friends, so.
Yeah, there were times where I'd be in the middle of some production headache, and you'd see like everybody sitting around on the terrace overlooking the Malecon, drinking their drinks, and I'm sitting there like dealing with numbers, and I'm like, oh God, I just don't want to think about this right now. I want to be there. The sun is setting, it's so beautiful, but It was great.
No, I'm sure. Having access to all those locations and stuff. But are you a cigar smoker? I mean, this is the capital of cigars, right?
I wasn't, but when I was there, I did. I got it. Like, I understood it.
Okay, explain it to me, because I don't get it, and even somebody who stands next to me who has just smoked a cigar wants to make me gag. So, what is it about cigars?
Okay, first of all, it's the leisure element of it, right? Like a cigarette, if you were to smoke one, is, I don't know, 2-3 minutes, maybe 5 tops. A cigar is a good hour of smoking something, and it's a very good complementary thing. Like, whether it's environmental or with, if you're a drinker, like with a cocktail, and it's a way of saying, we are going to sit here and be together for a while. And so being outside where there's this humidity and this tropical scent, and you've got the music playing, and it's a very sexy place, right? Like, just you can kind of feel like you can just feel like it's a very open place. And so this idea of just kind of taking it all in and being social, it just felt very natural.
Yeah.
Like, I would never think to do it anywhere else.
That's really cool. Yeah, it is a great city, that's for sure. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys wrote the script, and then you started shooting.
Yeah.
And then I guess things got frustrating, and you stopped down, and then so explain the process there, because if it were me and I was like, oh my God, I'm shooting a film, this isn't working, or whatever it is, what kind of drove you guys? You went back and you finished it, but you did take a kind of break in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so our original cut of the movie, there was a huge backstory for Jack. It was the first 30-something minutes of the story, and it was very serious, and it was pretty dark. And I thought it was great. It just tonally didn't jibe with the rest of the story. And so, we looked at it all and we went, well, we love Cuba. We love Jack in Cuba. We love all the people that we meet there. Mm-hmm. So we got to get rid of this and kind of accentuate some of the things that we love about the rest of it. So we're going to need to do some rewriting. We're going to need to raise a little bit more money. We're going to need to enlist a few more actors, and what you see is the result.
And there you go. Yeah. So you're, in the end, got to push through. Is that like your kind of motto to people who are in the middle of wanting to direct their first time, let's say? And what's the best advice that you can give somebody?
Well, my advice to anybody who's trying to do anything is, don't give up, and keep your sense of humor and try to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's, like I said, it's very humbling.
Right.
All of it is. There's nothing really easy about any of it, and it's, people work very hard to make really bad movies. And sometimes they work even harder than those who are working hard to make really good movies. There's this sort of alchemic, magical dust that is part of the process, and it doesn't matter how big a film is or how small it is. It doesn't matter how many people are involved. Like, sometimes things just kind of transcend your expectations, and sometimes they crater. Yeah.
Gotta just stick with it.
Yeah.
You're really passionate, for sure. When you have so many, great actors, and a lot of them are your friends, and you have your script, how free were you in letting them kind of add stuff? I mean, you've got Don McKellar, who, of course, great writer too, and
Oh yeah, I mean, what we would usually do is we'd say, okay, we would do it till we got what we felt like we wanted, and then we would say, all right, let's just do it. Let's see what happens. And by then people usually, I would say about 50% of the time we'd use that take.
Right.
The one after we felt like we had it.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. You know, you look back your amazing career, my God, like the stuff that you've done on acting and now producing, now directing. Do you want to direct some more actually after all this?
Yeah.
You've got that bug now?
Well, it's such a time-consuming thing. Like, I hope maybe I can make 10 in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you're a young guy. For sure you're going to get 10 under your belt. No problem.
We'll see.
No problem. But, you know, you're busy acting, too. You got a lot of stuff. So it was just announced, actually, just yesterday, I think it was, that you're going to be on a CSI episode coming up. So what is that kind of like, how, working on those kinds of things? How does, you know, when you get a script for something, what kind of makes you decide that's what you want to do?
Well, if it's an opportunity to do something different and work with really good people, pretty much every time I can, I'll say yeah. And then you know, to be a little more specific, like this last year, I've got like 5 or 6 movies coming out.
Yes.
Beyond this one.
Yeah.
You know, so I did. Okay, I got to.
I think I have a list here, like going down, like
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have this great scene that I got to do with Jeremy Renner in this film, Kill the Messenger, which is going to be a great movie. That one could be, and that could be a home run. That film. It's beautifully written, and the cast from top to bottom is unbelievable, and the scene I got to do with them is fantastic. So. That was a great experience. I got to do this romantic comedy in South Africa called Leading Lady, where I got to play a character I've never really gotten to play before, and I had the best time. And it's easily one of my best performances because it's unlike really anything I've gotten to do before. And so, the experience of being there, working with those people, the spirit of the film itself, I have a feeling it'll probably end up here at TIFF because it's.
Do I have that one? Yes, I have it. Yeah.
It's such an unusual, it's South African. It's got Boer language in it.
It's got TIFF written all over it.
Yeah. You know, it's a crowd pleaser.
Good.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite types when I get to cover the film festival.
Yeah,
you know, and I get to see as many. I mean, I try to, but obviously, you know, TIFF's changed over the years with time. But
they're less kind of focused on that and more wanting to be the
what's
point
going
of
to the
departures.
Oscars.
Yeah, and I get that too.
Yeah.
But you know, this film, I think that Leading Lady could be one of those films that translates around the world. So I'm very excited about that. And then.
You did a film with Susan Sarandon?
Yeah. Who is, like, I've always admired and respected her. I just love that lady. She's so cool. I had the greatest time. It's called The Calling. Chris Heyerdahl as well, who was in the film, is in it. Kevin Perron, the singer-songwriter-actor from Quebec, and Topher Grace and Ellen Burstyn and Donald Sutherland. Wow. It's a really, really good movie, and again, that's something else I'm very proud of.
When you work with people like that, Ellen Burstyn, Donald Sutherland, do you still find that you're learning from these types of people?
Totally, always, continually. You know, the thing that I'm always interested in is what I intuit from watching them, and then seeing if that's an aspect of my experience working with them. Like, is whatever I'm vibing, if you will accept that term,
sure.
From them as a person, is that really part of the experience of working with them, or is it something that they manufacture, or is it just the illusion of how they capture something in the camera that isn't necessarily translatable on a one-on-one basis? I'm always amazed by that.
Yeah, very, very cool. So down the road, like, what kind? If you do, because you've worn so many hats doing this project, would you step back and just say direct, or just act, or do you want to just do the whole thing again? Like, now you feel, what was the biggest thing that you learned, I guess, from doing something like that?
Well, I know how much better I can do it the next time.
Yeah, you always learn. I mean, obviously.
Oh yeah. But the learning curve directing, I think, might be the steepest of anything that I've ever experienced. So, I want to do this again. I think the next one, for me anyway, I would play a supporting role. I have a project in mind, and it's starting to pick up some steam. So hopefully we'll be shooting it no later than next spring.
Oh, very cool. So last question, which director that you've worked with over the years influenced you most in your style?
Wow. Interesting. Okay, I guess I'm going to have to say there are three for different reasons. One is, just the experience of working with Frank Darabont, watching somebody who wasn't a natural director, like find his own way of doing something, and realizing that there isn't a set way to do it. That always landed with me. Gore Verbinski is incredibly visually orientated. Like, he understands the psychology of framing and camera movement in ways that are kind of universally understood. Like, he takes sort of big popcorn movies and makes them work on a multi-generational level, whether it's animated or something like the Pirates movies, or in my experience of working with him, The Weatherman, which I think is a very underrated movie, where he understands what the big picture is and then creates a visual language for it that's very specific, and yet it's not pyrotechnic. It's a style, and he's fluid with that style, and I love that. And then this Vancouver auteur named Terry Miles, who just kind of, it's like, all right, let's just go make it. Let's just get in there together and make it. He really impressed me. He's somebody I want to work with again.
Very cool. Yeah. Really good. Well, I've taken up a lot of your time. I really appreciate it. It was great to talk to you again.
You
and
too.
Best of luck with this, really. I know it's going to springboard into lots more. Well, we'll be talking to you for years and years. I'm not worried about that. So thank you for your time.